That one is the consciousness which is apart from the waking self, apart from the dreamer self, apart from the sleeper self, and yet in and through all of them. Just see, you are aware of this class now. Before this class was not there, something else was there in your life. Now this class is going on. After some time this class will be over, something else will come. You maybe will go back to your hostel or your house. So a new circumstance will come. In all cases, what happened before, what is happening now, what will happen later, you are the consciousness watching all of them. The circumstances are coming and going. Look at your own body. You see yourself as a young person or a middle-aged or an old person. Remember, the same consciousness was watching when you were a 10-year-old kid.
Hello everybody, thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Alexis. For anybody who doesn't know, welcome if you're new or welcome back if you have been here before. I am the author of A Journey into Truth, Unveiling Life's Secrets for Truth Seekers, and this book talks all about the last 6 years of my life, the adventures I've been on, like going into the jungle and doing ayahuasca, and my spiritual path, and also some of the life lessons and philosophies I have learned along the way. So if you're interested in learning more about that book, you can visit my website at www.vibrate2create.com, or you can find me on Instagram at Vibrate2Create. Here on Vibrate to Create, I talk about all things spiritual and metaphysical. I make reaction videos to things like spiritual teachers, spiritual teachings, inspirational, motivational, and sometimes funny videos. And I also make entrepreneurial videos letting you guys know how to self-publish your own books. So if you're interested in that kind of content, then click the subscribe button and hit the notification bell to be notified of when I post new videos so you never miss a video. Today I'm going to be doing a reaction video to a teacher I have not heard of yet, but this was recommended to me on my reacting to Socrates video, and I really wanted to dive into it. Thank you so much for your recommendation, and if anybody else has any other recommendations for teachers or videos, then leave those down in the comments for me and maybe I will react to it for you. So this is called Who Am I by Swami Sarvapriyananda. Let me make sure I'm saying that right. Swami
Tarzan.
Sarvapriyananda.
Oh, I see.
Oh, I see. Tarzan. Oh, I see.
Okay, so Swami Sarvapriyananda. Oh my gosh, Swami Sarvapriyananda. Swami Sarvapriyananda. There we go. So Swami Sarvapriyananda at IITK. Who am I according to Mandukya Upanishad Part 1.
Awakening and social awakening.
Here we go.
So if you are also interested to be a part of our team, then you can contact us on the given contact number.
Good evening, and I'm back again, this time with a very different subject. The subject today is this most ancient of questions, who am I? And we will investigate this subject, this question, in the light of the Upanishads this evening and tomorrow again at the same time. The Upanishads present the highest philosophical teachings of the Vedas. They are among the most ancient texts known to mankind. There is a long list of Upanishads. In fact, in one of the Upanishads called Muktika Upanishad, we find a list of 108 Upanishads. But among all of these Upanishads, there are some 10 or 11 major, within quotes, major Upanishads. Major, why major? Because Adi Shankaracharya, some 1200 or 1300 years ago, chose these Upanishads to write his commentaries, Bhashyam. There is one Upanishad which is the smallest of all the Upanishads, and also regarded as the toughest, and that is called the Mandukya Upanishad. There is a saying that Mumukshunam vimuktaye mandukyam ekameva alam. for the liberation of those who want spiritual enlightenment, mumukshu, those who want mukti. For them, the Mandukya Upanishad alone is sufficient. So if you read this Upanishad and you are lucky enough to understand what it means and realize what it means as a living reality in your own life, you are free. You don't need anything else. So for liberation, the Mandukya itself is sufficient for those who want liberation, for those who want moksha or spiritual enlightenment. When I learned communication long way back before I joined the order, my communication teacher told me, you should start all talks with a story. So I'll start this talk with a story. About 10 years ago, in the Himalayas, in the high Himalayas in Gangotri, I was staying there for about a month, just like a traditional monk. No ashrama, no school, college, Ramakrishna Mission, nothing. Just staying in a log cabin, begging for my food in the Anna Kshetra, and meditating and studying. And staying in a log cabin means not like this. There's no electricity, no furniture, nothing. Just rajai, kambal. On the ground there is a blanket, and 2 or 3 blankets you can put on yourself. And so dark in there at this time because you cannot go out. It's very cold and dark outside. Nowadays they have electricity, but nowadays they even have mobile phones. They have put up a tower nearby, so you can signal there. I saw that happening, by the way. Anyhow, at that time it was so dark. At this time in the cabin it would be so dark that if I wave my eyes to wave my hands before my eyes, and I could not make out whether my eyes are open or closed. You cannot see anything. Only sometimes you can see sparks jumping out of your woolen clothes in static electricity, from the kambal to your sweater. But anyway, so that was the situation. One day after Bhiksha, I was taking a walk with some of the monks there with whom I had made friends, and this monk told me a story. The story goes like this. Raja Janak Raja, one day he was asleep, very peacefully sleeping, and suddenly the sentry came running and said, I'll use a mixture of Hindi and English, but I'll translate into English also, because the story was told to me in Hindi. Maharaj ji, uthiye, get up, what happened? The enemy has attacked, we must fight a war. So Janak Raja immediately got up, summoned his generals and his soldiers, and he went off to battle, put on his armor and sword and everything, took his sword and everything, and went off to battle. And there was a fierce battle in which Janak Raja was defeated. He was wounded, he was captured by the enemy, dragged before the enemy king. And the enemy king said, Tumhara rajya ab hamara rajya hai. I have captured your kingdom. Now I will not kill you because you are a king. I will exile you. You get out of this kingdom. It's mine now. What could poor Janak Raja do? He was tired and exhausted and bleeding and depressed. Somehow he started walking. And people in what was his own capital earlier, they refused to give him water or food because they were afraid. They said, the new king is very cruel. If they know we have helped you, he will punish us. After walking for 2 days, he came to the border of his kingdom. Then he crossed the border to the next kingdom, and he found food was being served to poor people, beggars. So there was a long line, and I think they were serving rice or khichdi or something, and a big handa was there. So he joined that line, and as he advanced in the queue, when he came up to the place where it was being served, at that time it was finished, no more food. And he could not take it anymore. He was feeling terribly depressed and tired and exhausted and in pain. And that person who was giving food, he said, just this starch which is lying at the bottom of the handa, that is there, I'll give it to you if you want it. He said, okay, give me that. And he gave him a bowl, filled that starch in there, and gave it to him. Before he could lift it, trembling to his lips, a kite, cheel, was circling up there. It dived and hit that bowl, knocked it out of his hands, and that bowl went rolling in the dust, and whatever was there was spilled in the dust, and Janak Raja could not take it anymore. He was so overcome with misery and sadness, he fell down on the ground. Ha ha kar karte hue, as he said. The sadhu, ha ha kar karte hue. Ha ha kar in Sanskrit, ha kar, Hindi ha kar, not English ha ha. So it means just the opposite. And when he was crying, alas, suddenly he heard a voice, Maharaj ji, kya hua? What happened? Sir? And he woke up, his chest pounding, covered in sweat, sitting on the bed. And the sentry has come, Maharaj, you shouted. What happened? So it was a dream. The whole thing was a dream, a nightmare. Nothing has happened. But because Janak Raja was very, he had a very analytical mind. So he looked up and he said, "Wo sach ya ye sach? Is that true or is this true? Is the dream true or is this waking world, is it true? Wo sach ya ye sach?" Sentry was taken aback. What is this? He called the minister. "Sir, what is wrong?" "Wo sach ya ye sach." They called the queen. The queen thought, "This old man, what has happened to you?" His wife came, "What happened to you?" "Wo sach ya ye sach." There's only one thing he's saying. "Wo sach ya ye sach." Nobody could understand this. Next day in the morning, in the marketplace, it's already problems. People are talking in hush hush. And Ashtavakra Muni, the great Jnani, he's walking, he has come to the city, and he heard this is what is happening. Now he was a Jnani, so he knew what has happened. He decided, I will go and visit Janak Raja. And he went to the court, and he asked Janak Raja, "Janak Raja, kaise hain? Maharaj ji, how are you?" And Raja said, "Wo sach hai, ye sach." That's what he's doing all day, sitting in the court, surrounded by the queen and the ministers and the army and the generals and everything. And I'm sort of imagining, this is not part of the story, but I'm imagining, the officers coming with files, "Please sign." "Wo sach ya ye sach." No work is getting done. When he said this to Ashtavakra Muni, same thing, "Wo sach ya ye sach." Now Ashtavakra Muni knows what he's referring to. So he said, "Janak Raja, when you were rolling in the dust, bleeding, tired, defeated, depressed, crying on that ground," what he is referring to only Janak Raja knows and he knows. Nobody else understands. What is this defeat and all this? At that time, was all this there? Your power, your wealth, your queen, your generals, your minister, all these things were there or not? Janak Raja said, "No, none of this was there. Only defeat and depression and sadness and misery. And now you're sitting here in the court, surrounded by your courtiers and all this power and wealth. That defeat, that depression, those wounds, that terrible situation, is it here?" The king said, "No, it's not here. Na, yahan to nahi hai wo." Then Ashtavakra Muni said, "To Raja, na ye sach, na wo sach. Neither this is true, nor that is true. This was not there in that terrible dream. And today you are in this situation, you are calling it a dream, that is not here." Then Janak Raja was shocked. The next question which would come to all of us, he's saying, "To kuch bhi sach nahi, is it nothing true then?" Then the Muni said, "Jab wo aap wahan par the, on that battlefield, on that place where you were rolling in the dust, defeated, crying, were you there or not? Tab wahan aap the ya nahi? Did you see that or not?" "Yes, I was there. I saw that. That may be false, but I have experienced it. It may be false. I woke up and I say it is false, but I have experienced it." "Or idhar up, where you are now sitting in the court, idhar bhi aap hai ki nahi? Are you sitting here and experiencing this or not?" He says, "Yes, I am experiencing it." "To Raja, na ye sach, na wo sach, but tum hi sach. Neither that is true, nor this is true, but you the witness of both situations. You alone are the truth." This is a story. The rest, I, who am I? The ego. You can put it this way. It's a jumbo duster. Okay.
I want to tell a story first as well before he keeps going on. So in my book, I talk a little bit about the traumas that I experienced and the hardships that I was experiencing at the time. And that's how I ended up on a spiritual path of seeking and searching for knowledge. So I was seeking because I really wanted to find out, who am I? What happens after we die? What happens in the afterlife? And can the afterlife communicate with humans here as we are now? Are we physical bodies? Are we spiritual bodies? Do we have a spiritual dimension to us? Is there a way to tap into, the future or the past, or to are there past lives? Are there old souls? You know, these different kinds of questions. And so that was kind of the beginning of the basis of why I went searching and seeking and trying to find out what happens in our life and who are we. So my first beginning, so I began my path because of the idea of death and because I had some really traumatic experiences with my health. And really honestly felt like, oh, okay, I'm gonna die here. And that was when I was 16 years old after I had a surgery when I got my thyroid taken out. So when they took out the thyroid, they accidentally took out my parathyroid as well. And so that, after the surgery, led to some really tough experiences. So like my body was twitching, my eyes were twitching, I couldn't open my mouth, I couldn't open my hands, I couldn't even really walk. So experiencing something like that, it really helps you to understand, okay, one day I will not be here. One day, it really helps you to dive into that idea of who am I? Am I this body? Am I going to be here? Am I going to live on even after my physical body dies? And I think that was the basis of why I went so deep into searching and seeking. And so my whole path was about finding out if there is more to me than just this physical body, or more to me than just, more to me than just my relationships with other people, or the house I live in, or the car I drive, or how much money I have, So I'm excited to see what he has to say about this, because I have my own experiences in searching for this answer and kind of my own ideas about it. So let's see what he says.
You can call it the knower also. Knower. Is it visible or it's too small? Too small. Okay, I'll write a little large. Now you have the waker. Janak Raja, when he was awake, you all of us, we are the waker now. We are in the waking state, hopefully. Some may be drifting off. And this waker, what does he or she, what does he experience? The world, the waking world. I'm just giving this name. The Sanskrit name would be Jagrat Prapancha. So the Sanskrit term is Prapancha. In Hindi also we say Prapanch, ye sab Prapanch hai. The term comes from Pancha. Pancha means 5. The idea was there are 5 elements out of which the world is constructed. Prapancha Prakrishtena Pancha. By the elaboration or mixture of these 5, the entire universe is constructed. Anyhow, the general idea is Prapancha. So the waker sees this waking world. And when Janak Raja was dreaming, or when we dream, he was the dreamer. And he sees a dream world. And there is another state which we all go through, where we are neither awake nor dreaming, absolutely in deep sleep. No dreams are there. Even modern science accepts it. Neuroscience also says that's dreamless sleep. One is REM sleep, you could talk about rapid eye movement sleep, another one is dreamless sleep. So this dreamless sleep, we can call it the sleeper, not the railway sleeper, there's a sleeper, the one who is in deep sleep. And we cannot say a sleep world, we can say a sleep world would be sleep blankness. What do we experience in deep sleep? Nothing, just blankness. Even I am sleeping, that kind of a thought also is there, no thought at all. So we can call it a sleep blankness. What this Upanishad tells you is that you are not the waker, you are not the dreamer, you are not the sleeper. What you are, the real you, is the fourth state, which is called Turiyam or Turiya. Now don't be scared about this term. Turiya simply means number 4. That's all. Turiya means 4. Chaturtham. The mantra here does not use the word Turiyam. That word was introduced later by Gaudapada Acharya in his commentaries. But the word mantra uses the word, if you will notice, Chaturtham, 4th. and Turiya. This is all that the mantra is trying to tell you. All that Ashtavakra Muni was trying to tell Janak Raja. That what you saw, the defeated Janak Raja in the world where he was defeated, he was expelled from his kingdom, he was suffering in the neighborhood kingdom and lying on the ground, and all the circumstances of that world, the dream world, and he who was dreaming there, both are not real. But there is a fourth one who was watching that. Right now, you are the waker, I am the waker. This is not our real nature, but there is a fourth one who is watching this waker and the waking state, illumining both. And similarly in dream state. This is the basic idea. I will explain it with the help of an example. What is the reality? The reality or the real you, answer to this question is, who am I? According to this mantra is, you are this Turiya, the fourth. It's like roll number 1, roll number 2, roll number 3 and roll number 4. The Upanishad begins with this statement, Soyam Atma Chatushpat. Who am I? You have 4 aspects. You have 4 aspects. The Upanishad begins in the first mantra. The 4 aspects are these 4. Among these 4 aspects, 3 are false, 1 alone is real. 3 are false, 1 alone is real. Now the interesting thing is, the Upanishad says this is real, this is who you are, the answer to the question, who am I? But we are not aware of anything like this. If you talk about the waker and the waking world, we are aware of that. This is what we know, what we are right now experiencing. You are the waker, Mr. or Mrs. so-and-so or Miss so-and-so or Swami so-and-so experiencing this classroom. This is the waker experiencing a waking world. This is what this is. And when tonight I'll go and sleep and dream, I have certain experiences, I will be in that dream also. Then I am the dreamer, I am experiencing a dream world. And when I go into deep sleep, blankness, nothing, absolute blankness. There you can call it the sleeper and experiencing a sleep blankness. Remember, the sleeper, for example, in the sleep world, there is no external world, no physical body, no mind, nothing, just blankness. Be careful, this is your own experience. This is not an objective experience. For example, I remember once one Swami was talking about it and he is saying in the deep sleep, which is called the Sushupti. In deep sleep, there is no experience of the world, there is no body, no mind, only a blankness. Then somebody in the audience asked, what do you mean there is no body and mind? In the mosquito net, under that we can see the fellow is sleeping. 80 or 90 kilos, nicely snoring. How come there is no body, you are saying? From objectively from your point of view, but you look at it from the person's point of view, who is asking this question, who am I? From his own experience, your own experience, in the deep sleep, daily we experience this. That no experience of world, no experience of body, no experience of mind also. Even the thought, I am sleeping, that's not there. If you say, I am sleeping, then you are not sleeping. It's not deep sleep. So that state we all experience. And apart from it, they talk about a Turiya or Turiyam, whichever. The fourth, how ought we to understand this? These 3 we can understand, but this one is not very clear. What is this one? Let's look at it this way. Suppose we have an ornament made, say a bracelet or a bangle and necklace and a ring. Somebody tells you, these are all golden ornaments. Somebody tells you, these are just names and forms. The reality is the gold. The reality is the gold. It's a golden bangle, golden necklace or golden ring, but the reality is not the bangle, necklace or ring. The real substance is gold. Now, suppose a person does not understand what gold is. His idea will be that there is something, some reality called gold apart from all of this. If he throws away all of this and starts searching for gold, will he find it? No, he will not find it. There is no gold apart from these. But if he thinks this is gold, what will happen? The moment somebody comes and melts the bangle down and makes a necklace out of it, he thinks the bangle itself is the gold. When that goes away and is melted down, what will he think? Gold is gone. Gold is gone. He does not understand the new form which has come, necklace, is the same gold. It's the same gold in another new form with a new name and a new function. When that necklace is also melted and put into a ring, it is the same gold with a new name, with a new form and a new function. But the physical reality is the same. Similarly, the idea here is the waker and the dreamer and the sleeper. The reality is that you are the witness of all three states, and you are in and through these states. The idea is that there is no fourth separate reality called Turiya. It is the same reality which is now being called a waker in the waking state. It is the same person, same reality, same consciousness which will be called a dreamer in the dream state. It is the same reality which will be called the sleeper in the sleep state. Similarly, when the necklace is transformed into a ring, the ring is not a necklace, necklace is not a ring, but both are gold only. So gold is apart from bangle in the sense that when bangle goes and is made into a necklace, gold survives. When necklace goes and is made into a ring, gold survives. So gold is there in all of them. They are apart from each other. Similarly, the waker is apart from the dreamer is apart from the waker, but there is something continuing in both of them. That is the Turiyam, the fourth one. Similarly, the dreamer is apart from the sleeper is apart from the dreamer, but you own up, all of us, we own up. It was my dream and it is my deep sleep and it is my waking. Who is that one who is saying it is my waking, my deep sleep, my dream?
I really like that analogy of the bangle, necklace, and ring, and that the gold, the substance that makes up this specific form of jewelry, is actually what is real and not the form that it takes. I think that's such a beautiful analogy, and it's also like bringing up to me the changing form of each of us. So basically, when we were much younger, there was still a consciousness in that form. There was a child us, and then it transformed into the child self, and then it transformed into the toddler and the teen, and then the adult, and then the older person. There's a constant state of involvement and a constant changing of who we become, especially because of our outside world and our experiences and where we grew up, and our form just eternally changes no matter where we come from. And it's kind of like the idea of the flower that I talk about in my book is there's an eternal process of evolvement of the flower becoming different stages of itself and then evolving through the different changing ways and then eventually blooming and then eventually, ending. A constant process of evolvement, a constant changing of transforming the gold to become a brand new form. I think that's beautiful.
That one is the consciousness which is apart from the waking self, apart from the dreamer self, apart from the sleeper self, and yet in and through all of them. So that this Turiyam, the reality, is right now here. It is here now. But it is not exactly the Mr. or Mrs. so and so. What is added to the Turiyam are the circumstances of the waker. It goes like this. Just like gold, you have consciousness. Just see. You are aware of this class now. Before this class was not there, something else was there in your life. Now this class is going on. After some time, this class will be over. Something else will come. Maybe you'll go back to your hostel or your house. So a new circumstance will come. In all cases, what happened before, what is happening now, what will happen later, you are the consciousness watching all of them. The circumstances are coming and going. Look at your own body. You see yourself as a young person or a middle-aged or an old person. Remember, the same consciousness was watching when you were a 10-year-old kid, when you were 20 years old, what you are now, and it's the same consciousness which will be watching when you are much older. So the body is changing continuously, The consciousness which watches the same. How can you say it is the same? Because it's our experience. We own up to it. I was the one in the 10-year-old's body. I am the one in the teenager's body. I am the one in this middle-aged body. So who is this continuous I? Because the body is changing. Body is continuously changing. Similarly, the mind is also changing. Imagine your mind when you are in, say, class 10. You're sitting for your class 10 examinations. Why I'm saying class 10? Because everybody remembers the class 10 board exams. And the first big board exams which you had to face. So imagine your mind at that time. What you knew, what you did not know, what you liked, what you did not like, what you wanted. And just imagine, compare it with your mind now. You know so many things more. Your likes and dislikes have changed. What you want in life has changed. So the mind is also continuously changing. But there is the same consciousness which was watching the mind of that class 10 student is also right here watching the mind of this IIT student now. So mind is a series of changes. Consciousness is not changing. Similarly, every day when we go from waking to dream to deep sleep, when we go from waking to dream to deep sleep, the consciousness is the same. See, the world has changed. The waking world disappears and the dream world comes. A dream body comes. Remember, the body which you have in the dream is different from the body of the waking world. Why? Because the waking world body is lying on the bed. But in the dream body you are doing so many things. It's a false body, no doubt. But your experience is that you have a body there in that world. So, consciousness is apart from the waking world and the waking body. Consciousness is apart from the dream world and the dream body. And consciousness is apart from the deep sleep blankness. It is in and through all of them. The states are coming and going. And the ego associated with each state is coming and going. But the consciousness is illumining all of them. The correct way to show this diagram would be, the fourth one is not here, but the fourth one is here, Turiyam or Turiya. It illumines the waker, illumines the dreamer, illumines the sleeper, and this is the only reality, and this is the answer to who am I. The question is, what are you or what am I apart from this waking state, apart from the dream state, apart from deep sleep, apart from the physical world of the waking state, apart from the mental imagination of the dream state, and apart from the blankness of the deep sleep state. One of our Swamis used to give this example. Station master sitting on the station, maybe in Kanpur, and first Rajdhani Express comes on the platform number 1 or something, Rajdhani Express comes. So very important train, lot of people are getting in and getting out, so much of rush is there, so much activity. The station master watches. Then he gives a signal, the Rajdhani Express goes away, but the station master does not go away with Rajdhani Express, he is watching. Then another train comes, maybe a goods train, no activity, smoky, not many people, and very few people, 1 or 2 people may be there. It comes and stops for some time, station master is watching. He gives the signal, the goods train goes away. But the station master has not gone with the goods train. He is on the platform watching. Next, what happens? No train is there. It's a blank platform. The blankness is there. The station master is watching the blankness. Now, this is exactly what is happening. You, the pure consciousness, you watch the arrival of the waking state, just like Rajdhani Express. So many hopes and aspirations and success and failure and problems, all of it comes with the body and with the world, and you are watching. Only thing is, you get identified with the mind in the waking state and say, I am Mr. So-and-so and this is my reality. These are my problems, these are my hopes, success and failure, these are my goals. After some time that disappears. You, like the station.
Okay, yes, so I want to jump in here because this really reminds me of my book and my journey as I was spiritually seeking. So when I had that shift in consciousness where, things seemed so hard in life and, things were basically collapsing before my eyes, including my physical body, including relationships, including, my home life, like I was about to be kicked out of my house. Basically everything in my life felt like it was collapsing and falling down, and so this really caused the, if you want to call it the ego or the mind, to go into panic mode of like, who am I? And that was where the questions started to come up. Who am I? What happens after I die? What happens, what is the nature of the deeper self? The self that is not the relationship, the self that is not a girl who is in college, the self that is not a teenager, or the self that is not Alexis, but the self that is the deeper consciousness of who I am, that lives on even after this body dies, or lives on continually throughout the life, like he was saying, throughout the evolvement of the body and the different ages and the different expressions of self and the different person who changes and evolves as I get more knowledge or more experience. Who is that self that is deeper than that? So yes, so that was the question that began the journey. And so over time, as I started to dig into spiritual ideas and dig into myself and who is the deeper self, and then dig into spirituality and the nature of the afterlife and the nature of spiritual ideas and like mysticism, like psychics and mediums who speak of life continuing on after death and also being able to communicate with the physical selves, it really caused me to understand what he's talking about, the nature of the self that lives on, who is not the car, or who is not the house, or who is not the money, and who is not attached to the physical, this person here, the deeper self. Okay.
Like the station master with a dream body, we dream, nice dreams and nightmares and all and so forth. You become identified with the dream body and dream mind, and you go through these dream experiences. Then that also goes away. Blank platform. You are the consciousness watching the blank platform. And again the waking state comes, Rajdhani Express comes again. But you are apart from all of them. Not only you are apart from all of them, you are untouched by all of them. You are untouched by all of them. The sufferings and enjoyments of the waking state, of the dream state, and the blankness of the sleep state, none of them touch the pure consciousness which is apart from all of them. But it sustains all of them. In its light, the entire game is illumined.
I want to tell you an experience I had in a plant medicine ceremony. So I did a plant medicine ceremony with Wachuma, with traditional shamans from Peru. And they had been practicing for like 20 years, and they had like grown up and done a lot of their own work with this plant medicine. And they say that Wachuma has its own consciousness and can speak to people, and I really believe that based on my experience having it or doing it. And so I wanted to bring this up as he's speaking because I had this specific experience that kind of coincides with these ideas. Let me change my battery. So I went through this experience, and then I had this process, and there were many things that came up and many ideas that I started to understand. And later on in the night, I went to bed and I felt like I was woken up in my sleep by the plant medicine. And I was having these awarenesses, and one of them, like I was getting questions answered that I had, like almost like Wachuma was speaking to me and answering questions that I was asking. And I remember one specific thing came up, and I thought to myself, how did you know I had that question? And then I started to see these visions of me throughout the day. So it was like the plant medicine or the higher self was saying, I see you, and I understand what your questions are, even though you're not asking them right now, if that makes sense. Like it was telling me, there's another part of you, another self, that is another dimension that is able to understand who you are and able to understand what questions come up. It was like this understanding of like, I'm always there with you along your path in life. I'm always there with you, experiencing your life from a different dimension than what you're experiencing, your consciousness or yourself, your ego is experiencing. So it's like this different self who is aware, even though you're not aware that they're aware. Does that make sense? It was a very interesting experience, and I felt just this very loving energy and a very loving presence, and I understood that it was like people call them like the guardian angel or the spirit guides or whatever you want to call it, but I call it just the higher self or the awareness that is not you. And perhaps this is kind of connected to what he's talking about. It's very interesting.
The fourth one is not the dreamer. Na bahish pragyam. You are not the waker. You the turiam. You are, your real nature is not the waker, which you imagine. Now all of us, this is our reality. We think, I am Swami Sarvapriyananda standing here in this lecture hall number 3 in IIT Kanpur. This is my reality. He says, no. You are the consciousness illumining this temporary appearance in your consciousness. Okay. You are not the waker. Na bahish pragyam. Anything in between, waking and dream sort of. Na ubhayata pragyam. You are not something in between also. In between consciousness. I think many students are familiar with this in between consciousness. After a lot of maybe a long lecture, we tend to go into an in between consciousness between waking and dream. So I've seen many times the notes that you take in that in between consciousness are very interesting. Something the teacher is something that is coming from your subconscious mind, something the teacher is thinking, and a mixture of that will come in your copy.